my sixth class about regression. This class is about gradient descent. In this class I will do three things. First, I will explain how regression can be cast as a simple gradient descent problem. Then I will highlight a few gradient descent properties independently from the context of regression. I will just explain the maths of gradient descent. And then finally I will explain the differences between batch gradient descent and stochastic gradient descent. And let me say that there will be more classes about gradient descent in the context of regression and reinforcement learning, but this will be for more advanced methods that we'll explain in next classes. So first, how can we consider regression as a gradient descent problem? So in regression, we want to minimize some regression error. That's the blue elements that you see here that you want to minimize. So you want to find a model that fits the red curve as closely as possible. So we want to find the minimum of the so-called loss function L of theta, where theta is the set of parameters of your model. Okay. And actually, you can draw this function L of theta as a function of theta and figure out that the minimum, for instance, is here. So there are two ways to do this. Either you solve for the optimum theta by minimizing the loss over theta through some analytical method. That's what we did in the previous regression classes. So that's immediate, but this can be very expensive if you have cast it as a matrix inversion problem. Okay. Or you can perform some gradient descent where you start from some theta and you want to converge slowly to some optimum. In general, you will converge to a local optimum, but if you are lucky enough, your local optimum will be very good. Okay. So this gradient descent will be an iterative approach. Okay, and the general iteration equation is this. So you have a current theta, you add some variation over theta, so delta theta, and this gives you your new theta. Okay, and that's what gradient descent is. So the problem will be, how can we get this delta theta? So we want to minimize, in fact, the loss of theta plus delta theta over delta theta. The question is, how can we choose this delta theta? Okay. And this can be cast mathematically quite clearly. So we want to find the minimum of the loss of theta plus delta theta over delta theta itself. So as usual, this minimum is reached when the derivative of the loss over delta theta is null. So how can we use this? Actually, the loss of delta plus delta theta can be approximated at the first order as this particular expression, where here delta theta is the gradient of the loss over theta. Okay. So if you want this to get null, this means that the derivative of this with respect to delta theta is null, which gives actually, that's the derivative. So if you want this expression to be null, you finally end up with delta theta, the optimum delta theta is reached when it is equal to that particular expression. Okay. So here you have some constant term, okay, and you can write that the optimum delta theta corresponds to the gradient of the loss of theta with respect to theta times some coefficient alpha, which is called the step size. Okay. And finally, the iteration rule is the new value of theta is the old value of theta minus a step size times the derivative of the loss with respect to the parameter theta. Okay. Choose the steepest descent direction is given by the first order derivative. So if you know the mathematical expression of the loss, you can take its first order derivative, and this will tell you in which direction you should go. Okay. That's illustrated here. So here the first order local derivative gives you the right direction. Okay. So if you are here, you should move to the right because the derivative goes to the right. But if you are here, you should go to the left because the derivative goes to the left. Okay. But the point is that minimizing the first order derivative is not lower bounded. Okay. You could go infinitely low along this line, but if you go too far away, in fact, the first order approximation that you are using when looking for the first order derivative is valid around this point, but it's not valid anymore if you are very far away from that point. Okay. So we need the step size alpha to determine how far we can go. Okay. And alpha is a very important parameter in gradient descent, as you can see now. So the idea is that if your step size is very, very small, that's what you have here, you will make very small steps. So you will need a lot of steps before you reach some optimum. Okay, so here your step size is too small. By contrast, here, if you take large step, what may happen is that you just go over the optimum and go too far away. In that particular case, you are lucky because you will go back, but it may happen that you have here a small bump and then you go further away, so you may even miss a local optimum and never find it anymore. And here you have a case where the step size is adequate. So if your step size is too small, you will need too many steps. If it's too large, you may miss a local optimum, which is not what you want to do. And there is a possibility which consists in doing a line search, which is a method to compute the best step size given some approximation of the slope that you are descending. Okay. And this method of line search, for instance, is used in TRPO, which is one of the reasons why this reinforcement learning algorithm is efficient. Now, a different property about gradient descent that you have to be aware of is that if you are using some noise in your gradient descent, it may happen that the same gradient descent starting from the same point may end up in very different local optima. So here we have an example of a function where we have 4 local optima, O1, O2, O3, and O4. And if you start from here, just by having some noise here, you may end up in this one, or in this one, or in this one, or in this one. Okay. So gradient descent is a local improvement approach, and at each step we follow the steepest descent gradient direction. Eventually, with some noise, we will see that noise can come from the stochastic gradient descent case. Okay. But the point is that we don't know where the optimum we want to reach is. Okay. So unless the cost function is convex in the parameter space, which would be a case where you just have one global optimum, gradient descent can end up in very different local optima depending on the starting point and on the noise. Okay. So the only thing that you can say about gradient descent is that if you go down, you will end up somewhere low, but that's you don't know where in advance. Okay, that's important, and this will explain a lot of the technicalities of advanced method of local gradient descent techniques, where you want to find a better local optimum than the one that you would get using standard gradient descent. Okay. Now, how can you perform batch regression for gradient descent? That corresponds to the first slide that I have presented. So now I have a set of points corresponding to my function. Okay. So I have a first guess, which is my model parameterized with a first value θ1. Okay. And now I want to minimize this error. So the idea is that the weights of theta of my regressor f hat are updated so as to decrease all errors on average. So I want to decrease this error, I want to decrease this error, etc. So using the technique that I have explained to you, just providing gradient descent over theta, at the first iteration, I will decrease the error like this. Okay, so I will go closer to the different points. Okay, and then at the second iteration, I will go even closer, and so on and so on. And one of the potential issues will be to go too close to the points and to get finally what is known as overfitting. Okay, but I won't explain overfitting here. I will keep this for next class. Here what I want to explain to you is that there are different techniques to perform some regression. There is batch regression, iterative regression, and incremental regression. So in the batch regression, I take all my data at the beginning and I perform this batch update doing a single calculation. That's the analytical case that I presented in the previous classes, and then I get my model. In iterative updates, okay, I take the same data, but I start with some model parameterized with some theta, and then each time I perform an iteration, I change my theta so as to get a new model that is better than the previous one. Okay, so batch gradient descent is an iterative process in the sense that you iterate on a model to get an error which is smaller and smaller. And there is a third possibility which is called incremental update, where in fact I start with fewer data, and each time I perform an iteration in my iterative method, I introduce new data so as to improve my model. Okay? And I will explain to you in the next slides that in fact stochastic gradient descent is a case of incremental update method, where batch gradient descent is just an iterative update method. Okay. So how does stochastic gradient descent work? So let's consider here a batch of data points. What is very important to consider is that in fact in stochastic gradient descent I won't take all these points immediately so as to perform batch gradient descent. I will just say take a few of these data points randomly from the batch at each iteration. So I will use an incremental method where at each new iteration in the loop I am taking a few additional samples so as to improve my model. Okay. One point which is very important is that in fact batch gradient descent is expensive when the batch is very large. Okay. And we can decrease the cost by using several mini batches. In particular, this is interesting when you can perform the computations in parallel. Okay. And this is exactly what stochastic gradient descent does. So each mini batch will give a different estimate of the local gradient. So you get some estimate which is rather inaccurate. This is why there is some noise in your gradient descent. But if you combine these several inaccurate estimates, then finally you will get as accurate as if you were using the large batch immediately. Okay. And you will see in the next classes that being inaccurate when performing gradient descent is not so important, because what matters is to end up somewhere low, as I said before. Okay. And finally, you have to note that stochastic gradient descent converges more slowly. So you should use it only if your batch is too large to perform the computation immediately, because if you can, just using one batch is a better idea. And all those properties of stochastic gradient descent with respect to batch gradient descent are very well explained in Léon Botou's paper, which is mentioned here, so you should read that. So how does it work in practice? So instead of taking all these data points immediately, I just take a few of them. Okay, that's why I have here, and then I perform one iteration over my model so as to go closer to these points. And then I take a second batch, so the first batch of data points will be in red now, and then I take a second mini batch that you can see here. And then this was my previous model, and I'm now improving it again and again and again until I have a satisfactory model for my data points. And in general, I will stop when I'm starting to get some overfitting. This will be explained in the next class. And that's it for this particular class today. So thank you for listening.